Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Trade Stock. I'm your host today, Justin White, and I have three amazing guests in the studio. We're going to be talking all about electric equipment. We're going to be talking about robotics and truly what I believe is the future of landscaping. We've all seen the trends in our industry of people such as K&D and other companies moving from gas to electric, the benefits of that. And now it's kind of phase two of that transition where we're going from electric to automated, and we're doing automated robots for lawn mowing specifically. And really, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk a lot about the new products coming onto the market in 2026 and specifically focused on the Kress Voyager and what the Kress team has in store. So I've got three guests, like I said. I'm going to start off introducing them. We've got Grayson, the owner of Lawn Capital out of Georgia. We got Todd Zimmerman, who is the VP of Product and Sales at Kress. And we have Butterley over at Kress, she's like all things PR, all things promotions, all things marketing. If you see those amazing Kress videos on YouTube or the Instagrams, Meg's behind pretty much all of those. So happy to have all three of you guys on the show. Welcome to Trade Stock, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Right on, guys. So Grayson, I want to start with you. If you could just give us a quick little intro about your company and what you do over there at Lawn Capital.
Yeah, my name's Greyson Walldorff with Lawn Capital. Started the business about 10 years ago, and we started transitioning. We're a full-service landscape maintenance and construction company based out of Atlanta, Georgia. Half our business is maintenance, half of it is construction. On the maintenance side, about say 2023, we started messing around with going electric and got our first set of Kress. It was end of 2023, and really throughout 24 and through this year, we've transitioned about 90% of our maintenance operations to all electric, and that's everything from the fleet, the vehicles, all the way through all the pieces of equipment. So we've been doing this at scale. We've been ramping up our property size that we're taking on, and learned a lot through the last 2 years. And it's amazing how much stuff has progressed technology-wise, even the last 2 years, and how capable the equipment is.
Awesome. I'm going to come back to you too. I want to start off a little bit about that benefit to customer, what you've seen there, Grayson. But before we do that, Todd, I'm going to come to you. Todd, welcome to the show. You're a returning guest here to Trade Stock, and exciting to have you back. Tell us a little bit about your role over at Kress and what you guys have been working on this year.
Sure, Justin. It's great to be back, and thank you for having us on again. So I've been in the battery technology industry for almost 30 years. And when I joined Kress, they just started looking at how to get into the landscape industry with battery innovation. And that's why we're here, not only with battery innovation, but innovation in robotics. And there's a lot of new things that are coming down, not only in product, but batteries, to help landscapers ease that concern of changing from gas to cordless, but also being able to utilize automation to look after one of those biggest concerns everybody has, which is labor scarcity and how to overcome that. So we've got a lot of fun things to talk about today, and hopefully it'll resonate with the disruptors that are listening on to the podcast as well.
Nice plug. Awesome. I'm excited for that. Meg, welcome to the show. And you are a returning champion yourself.
I am. I don't like to say champion, just returning guest. Yes. Nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
Well, Meg, so you're all over. If you've been at the Kress booths at these conferences where you had people like Jesse Cole in Kentucky hanging out at your booth, you're kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes, making everything look great and happen. What do you do at Kress? Because you seem to be everywhere, doing a little bit of everything.
We were actually just having that conversation a few minutes ago.
It's a great question, Justin.
Wait a minute. Watch that tone. So, first and foremost, it's the organic social media piece and the PR. And also I work with big voices in the space, like yourself, from an influencer standpoint too. The nice part about working with Kress that, since we've been growing over these last few years, is now with more and more people adopting the electric and bringing it into their fleets, one of my biggest requirements now is before you can come and work with us with Kress, you have to be at least 70 to 80% fully converted to Kress in electric. You have so many influencers, or they call them KOLs or KOCs out there in the industry now, and a lot of them just go for the money grab. So it might be, oh, I'm going to talk about this brand. I'm going to talk about this brand. And when we first came into the space, that's kind of what I was facing because Kress was so new. But now more and more people are adopting it and more people are seeing it. And it's such an exciting time to be in this space, especially in North America. I mean, as you know, over in Europe, they've adopted, early adoption is more so over there, but now seeing North America really jump in, it's great because now I can set those boundaries and say, unless you're already here with us and you're using the product, I'm not going to have a money grab situation where you're using this brand for this and this brand for this. And oh, by the way, here's Kress. So it's really exciting to see people jumping on board.
I see it too. And it's so interesting because I think 5 years ago, we would never really think about influencers and the landscape industry in the same sentence.
It's very niche.
Right. Like there's a fast growing group of individuals. And I think it's awesome for our industry, what's happening. But you as a vendor and a manufacturer have to protect the brand, right? And that's probably something that just wasn't such a big thing 5 years ago in our industry. Obviously, in other industries, it's been there for decades, like the music industry, for example.
Exactly. It is a very niche space. And, more people like yourself and Grayson are really excited about being able to take this opportunity and be an advocate for electric in your areas of the United States. So it really is an exciting time. And then you layer in the robotic piece on top of it. And it's just, we're flipping the industry on its head and it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun to be there, be the tip of the spear. And it's a great segue into what we're going to be talking about today, because we are going to be talking about electric equipment, the benefits of going electric, the results that we've seen, both Grayson and I, and what Todd and Meg, you guys have seen from traveling around the country, meeting with, I would go to say thousands or tens of thousands of landscapers over the course of the last year. But Grayson, I want to come to you here and just bring you into this. When did you guys decide to go 100% electric? And give us the rundown. You guys are fully electric from the vehicle all the way down to the lawnmower, correct?
Yeah. So I took the approach of, I thought the whole platform needed to be electric. I didn't like the idea of a gas truck and figuring out how to charge equipment on the go. We went with there's a lot of different ways to go electric, right? Some people go out with enough power for the day. Some people use a little combo. They have, whether it's a cyber tank or some other form of charging in a gas vehicle, with just enough batteries. We went out, we wanted to be, as we tested all the brands, and we wanted as few batteries on the truck as possible. That was what I came up with, is I want, on a 2-man crew, we're able to achieve about 4 batteries with Kress. So that was,
wow.
And there were some other brands that we had to have, upwards of 30 to 40. And I called it battery fatigue. You'd be in the operator would just, I don't know which ones are dead, which ones are good. How do I charge them? The charger's not working, all the above. So it was really 2023 is when I said, let's do it. And when did Kress officially launch, Todd, Meg? What was that? Was that 2023?
It was, yeah. Our first, we were in 2022, we had our first event where we had almost 200 landscapers and dealers to Terranea for a kind of a soft launch in Kress, and then Equip of 2023 was the industry launch.
Yeah, so that's October. Yeah, I remember that was I was like coming out of COVID, and it was big. It was big time. I remember putting the blower on though and being like, "This is it. This is like, it works. This is it." Once we kind of got our hands on the product, or I did, and Ford had just launched at the end of 22, the E-Transits and the Lightnings, but there was like that year period where you couldn't get one. It was like you had the COVID, manufacturing gridlock and all that. The supply chain was all gone. But so once all that came together and we were able to get our hands on a vehicle, we sent out a crew and we took our smallest properties, actually, put them on a route, and we just did it. We were like, let's do it. We started for Ford Transit, E-Transit, set up a cyber tank, put out 4, it was the 4 of the red batteries, just a very small crew, and it worked. So we just went month by month for the next 8 months. Now we're up to about, we have 8 crews running it full time. and it's been beneficial to us. Really enjoyed it. There's a lot of different strategies to do it. I think, but it saved a lot of headache, and I think the incalculable cost that it saved is messing with 2-cycle equipment, and I think that was I hated it. That was really what sparked it to me, was the constant, as we were growing. We at the time we only had 3 or 4 maintenance crews, and I was being brought an issue about a blower. Blowers bogged down. Mowers messed up. We have an engine problem. Someone didn't change the oil right, and those issues just are an operational nightmare for a business that can't have a mechanic.
And what was your? This is a question I get a lot. What was the response from your crews as you went fully electric, or even response from people who you're going from 2, 3 crews to now 8 crews? The response from team members coming on board from maybe a gas-centric business coming to a fully electric business. Was there pushback? Was there frustration around the power? What was like the response from your team over the last 2 years?
There's a lot of negativity. I think I failed with putting SOPs together, and I failed with getting management on board first. I went to the crew first, so I was very involved with the crew. I was out there every day, and I think my biggest failure was not getting management on board, and kind of management just saw me, the owner's, this is his little pet project or whatever, But and I should have got everyone on board, but there was a lot of pushback. Crew members will find a way to make it not work. I mean, they just will. But those are people in general you don't want in your organization, and that's what I've kind of found through this process, is that yes, it's different. There are good and bad parts about it, positives and negatives, versus a gas piece of equipment. It's not all perfect, but it really brings out the type of people in your organization that you want. So defining that your culture, your core values, and people who are negative and will unplug a charger and say it's not working, those aren't people you want in your organization in general.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And what about the customer side? I mean, it sounds like you guys have grown a lot over the last 2 years on the maintenance side, and sounds like construction too, but specifically on the maintenance, when you're going to sell a new property, how much of an upgrade or an enhancement or a value add is being on an all electric company in your market, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, the greater kind of Atlanta market or North Atlanta?
Yeah, so we're pretty we're in the dense of the city. So Meg came by recently, and I mean we're downtown. So we're very high urban environment. Our core market is, we're going after high density areas with a lot of foot traffic. We want to be in the mix of it all. A lot of serving and our impact is across a lot of patrons. So whether that's a lot of people coming to the location, whether it's a hospital, an HOA with multiple people there, or small dense single family where you don't there's a lot of traffic, but that's kind of our core target, and people really enjoy it. Once they get to experience it, and it's kind of they can't remember it the old way, where it was extremely loud, and the noise is the largest factor. Another part of our services, we're not using glyphosate or Roundup either, so we try to take a more organic approach to the whole ecosystem of the landscape. But noise is the largest factor. Cleanliness of our equipment and trucks, we're able to keep the electric equipment a little cleaner, and our vehicles cleaner. Not having the fumes and gas around people. It's a much more pleasant experience, especially at a hospital, where patients are going in and out. Our crew can be by the front door, blower off, blower on, and it's not a massive interference to their business.
It's funny because when we were in Atlanta and we kind of went around with a couple of the crews, and one of the stops was at the hospital, and some of the staff came outside, and I was asking them, I said, have you guys noticed? And they said, we'll never let them go back to gas. Just, the patients who are coming in and out the door, they're sick. They don't feel well as it is. You've got worried family members who are with them. They don't want to, hear these loud blowers when they're going in and out and coming out. It's just, they said that we'll never let them go back to gas now that we've experienced the electric.
The blowers are just, they are they are awful. I've become such an old man. I'm 29,
gas
but
blowers are awful. Hold
correct.
The gas blowers are awful.
Gas
Yes,
blowers
let's
are awful.
clarify.
It's an epidemic in the city. I mean, it's it's every establishment has a different a company that serves them, and there's different times a day, and it's just nonstop. And the decibel levels are, I mean, it's like you're at an airport. And you can't even, it's unmanageable. Now should it be regulated? I don't know, but it's definitely, I think people should choose and look for companies who are providing this, because it's operator safety. I mean, if it's that much of a nuisance to you and you're 100 yards away, I mean, imagine being right up in it. And we all know, I mean, Justin, you know how hard it is to, at scale, make sure everyone's got ear protection in. I mean, it's very hard. I remember being in the field myself. It's hard. Sometimes you're like, we're just going to run with it, and the effects of that are, very impactful. So I think it's very important for operator safety, and and people should make a conscious decision when purchasing these services of choosing providers who take that seriously, because I think it's becoming pretty apparent whether a company is choosing to use these products or not, because you're making a decision to not put your employees in a better, safer place.
Yeah, and what we've found too is the people don't realize just how loud the gas blowers are. Grayson, you said this is until they're gone. Yeah. And then they go, wow, like I really didn't realize how loud and obnoxious and polluting they are from a noise perspective. And we're all for being a green company and creating a sustainable economy and industry in the landscape industry. But at the same time, we have to go to what our clients care about most. And we're in the middle of, this mecca of California that is the Silicon Valley. And so we have probably the most progressive, I'll use that term, legislation around electric and gas equipment, where in just, 2024, they passed the ban on gas equipment that was manufactured after January 1st, 2024, can't be sold in California, small equipment. And so everyone says, oh, you went electric because you're in California. I was like, you would be amazed. When we bid properties, we are almost always, except rare cases, the only company that is fully electric that are providing services at scale. Because once you get over that 10 to 15 crews, a lot of people aren't willing to make the capital expenditures and the CapEx that is needed to go all electric at scale. And when you do it small bits at a time and different brands, and you kind of mix and mingle everything, like Grayson, you said about all the different batteries, it's impossible to do that efficiently and at a commercial scale level. I was recently on a private golf course, and I was with my buddy golfing, and we're teeing off on number 2 hole. Meg, I tagged you in this post, and it's like this serene, beautiful golf course. There's small houses kind of littering the area, but nothing too crazy. And we're getting ready to tee off, and you hear the gas blower start up right next door on that house that the maintenance guys are at. And it's just ripping through the air, and it's so loud that we're like, how is this allowed on this private golf course? It's this beautiful, serene Alistair McKenzie design, and we're just being completely noise polluted. So I think people are getting smart about the gas-powered issues that are showing up in the world, and are looking for more electric options, which we've luckily found that, Kress has actually an easy replacement for that, and provides the power. And so, Todd, I wanted to go over you here. You talk to a lot of people about the product. You talk to a lot of people about the power of Kress. I mean, what are you seeing when people start to transition? We're not going to get to robots quite yet, just from the electric side, when they transition from gas to electric. What's some of the feedback that you're hearing from companies around the country that you meet with?
Well, it's a fair question, and I think it ranges depending on where they are in their thought process. The first piece of it is exactly the same thing that you and Grayson had touched on. No one believes that a battery product can have the same power or more power than a gas product, right? They're stuck in this gray area of gas is the most powerful, and it always will be. And then all of a sudden a battery technology comes out that gives you more power than gas on every product, every handheld product, except for a backpack blower. We're equal to the best-selling backpack blower out there as far as power goes.
Hey Todd,
Then, yeah,
can I ask you a quick question? Because Grayson and I both can sit here and we can agree with you, but I think a lot of listeners hear that statement, we're equal to the, power of a gas powered blower. And they just they go, he's not talking about the blowers I use. So how do you
sure.
guys measure power on that point? And what kind of research or data can we point the listeners to when maybe they're not necessarily believing everything that we're saying about the power?
And how do you address? I guess one thing also is runtime. I think that's power is obviously a big thing, but I think runtime is really the dagger, right?
Yeah. So and that's where we start to see the other piece of the feedback, right? So from spec to spec, right? For a gas backpack blower, we built ours to be a comparison to the BR700, the steel BR700, right? When somebody talks about power of a backpack blower, they're referring to the air power or the CFM that it generates. That's what kind of everybody goes, oh man, that's got a lot of power. It's not the miles per hour, but how much wind can it generate
And
to give you the power?
is that measured at I know there's a measurement of tip CFM, right? You might know this better than I do. It's from the tip of the blower versus at contact or something. Is that true?
It is. So the way the standard for mowing, the regulatory standard for measuring CFM is the nozzle has to be, I'm going to make this number up because I don't remember exactly what the number is, whether it's a foot to 2 foot off the ground, and it's the amount of air that presses against a scale, right, over a given time period. And then that basically gives you a mathematical equation to get to your CFM.
Okay.
Right.
And CFM
And
means
cubic feet per minute.
Gotcha.
Right. So when everybody refers to the power of a backpack blower, they're always referring to cubic feet per minute. Our KC500, which is one of our hero products, is 900 CFM, compared to a BR700, which is about 800 to 850 CFM, right? And then you can just look at that. So if you're truly looking at what a backpack blower can do, you can measure ours just by simply looking at our CFM spec against any other gas backpack blower that's out there, right? Now, are there other gas backpack blowers that are out there that are more powerful than we are? Yes, right? There's a BR800 from Steel. There's an Echo one. But when you look at the most popular one sold, it's in that BR700 range, BR600 to BR700 range. So when we talk about power, that's what we mean. So we're equal to, in a backpack blower, the same power that a gas one has.
Have you ever tested as the product depreciates? So a gas blower becomes less efficient, obviously. By month 6, it starts bogging down. How efficient is a BR700 on after first season of use versus, because that's one thing I love about the electric Kress products is we had to replace a few straps or something, but the thing's still just about as powerful. But if I go a 2-season-old gas blower, I mean, that thing there's no way it's running at the, whatever spec it was, spec'd at. There's just no way.
Yeah, so what you're running into is the difference between using an engine, right, and everything that clogs an engine, whether it's the air filter, the spark plugs, you're mixing the oil the wrong way, all of that starts to deteriorate over a certain amount of time. When you have a cordless product, you're using a brushless motor, and there's no deterioration to a brushless motor, right? When you pull the trigger, you get instant torque. When you pull the trigger on a gas blower, it's got to ramp up. When it hits its peak torque, it all of a sudden goes back down, almost like a big roller coaster. You climb up the hill, and then it just drops straight off, right? When you're looking at using a brushless motor like we do on all of our products, you basically hit that peak, right, at that top of that climb, which is your max, your peak power, and then you level off, right? You don't go down this drastic slope from a performance drop off. So, if you think about it, when you're in a gas car, gas truck, you just stomp on the gas, right? And it takes a minute to get up to speed. Do that same thing to an electric car. You stomp on the gas and you're thrown back in your seat like G-forces hitting you in a jet, That's the same thing you're getting with Kress cordless equipment. You pull the trigger and you get instant torque, instant power right away. That instant power is like a millisecond, then it levels off to its constant power. And that brushless motor doesn't give out. There's nothing to deteriorate it. There's no gas, there's no oil, there's no air filters, there's no spark plugs. You don't have to worry about pulling or ripping a cord. There's no maintenance to it. So you get the benefit of that. Even from a landscaper standpoint, when you guys were talking about some of the challenges of converting, well, some of the things you've got to take into account, like Grayson and Justin and Blake has jumped on as well, right? It's the benefit of lower maintenance costs, right? That person that was dedicated or is dedicated or had been dedicated to maintaining your equipment can now maintain a truck versus the equipment, right? Something that needs to get you around every day versus worrying about a product that should be up and running. So that's really where the biggest thing comes in, is having more power than gas, except for a blower. And we have a blower coming out in the next 6 months that will be even more power than where we are today. But then, Grayson, to your point, it gets to the runtime aspect of it. The Kress solution, we looked at it a lot differently than most manufacturers because we were coming into the market new, and we didn't want to or couldn't afford to be like everyone else. If we were just a standard lithium-ion battery, quite honestly, all three of you on the call probably wouldn't be talking to us because we'd be the same technology that's out there today and with all the same challenges that you mentioned, right? Grayson, you said during your transition period, you tried all different types of battery options, anywhere between 20 battery packs to 30 battery packs or 35 for a crew, for a two-man crew to get through a day. And being able to know what batteries were charged, where weren't, how to charge them overnight, how to, who's going to be in charge of it to make sure they're charged, ready to go for the next day. So we looked at it completely different and said, how do we maintain or provide landscapers constant energy during the day so they can always be able to charge their batteries during the day and not have to worry about managing so many battery packs overnight? And that's where our cyber tank came into play. Our cyber tank is just like a portable phone charger, right? Probably 98% of Americans have a portable phone charger because your phone's always in your pocket, the battery runs down, you plug it in, it charges back up. Our cyber tank is exactly that. It is a portable charger for your product. You charge it up overnight, you've got a tank of energy during the day, which now becomes your DC to DC charger. So that way, when your crews are out, they have a way to charge using that cyber tank in order for them to always have constant energy. So what's that help us out? It's the same thing, Grayson, that you just said, right? Your two-person crew can now use 4 batteries. And why is that? Because during the day, they can swap them out. And there's not a product that we have that the battery will drain faster than that cyber tank can charge the battery. Right? Our cyber tank can charge an 11 amp hour battery pack in 8 minutes on flash charge, right? 8 minutes.
That's got to be, I think, the biggest level up in technology, that like multiple orders of magnitude improvement, and why we've been able to actually go all in is the battery power. And because you could build everything else, and I think a lot of people have, and durability is an issue, but it was always the batteries for us. And I always say we tried every color of the rainbow and landed squarely on Kress because it was so clear to us and to John, our COO, that the battery power, it's all about energy in this next stage, and you guys have the power. So, hey, I want to bring Blake onto the call. Blake joined us here just a minute ago. Blake from Garden View Landscaping in San Diego, or LA. Blake, bring us up to speed, man. Where are you out of, and what are you guys doing down there at Garden View?
Hey guys, good to see you.
Hey Blake,
what's up?
We're over in the LA, Pasadena, California zone, and been using the Kress stuff for a couple of years now. Same story that Todd's talking about with those battery charge times, and this is the big old difference maker for us. So we're all in. We've been using it on all of our crews now for well over the full year. Time seems to fly, but it's it's awesome. It's been smooth and sweet, and that we've been through a lot of other manufacturers. We tried to go all in on, did our demo cruise on Husqvarna and found all these failing chargers and batteries that we had to have a million of, and realized that was a similar situation with a bunch of others we demoed. So once we got over to the Kress, just game on. It was awesome.
Yeah, exactly, man. Well, thanks for jumping on. So
yeah.
So for us, I mean, at this point, for everybody, I think in the landscape industry that's providing any type of maintenance services, it's an obvious value add on the electric side. It's a cost saver on the P&L from an operating perspective. It's a value add from a sales perspective. And the biggest challenge, the biggest hurdle you got to get over is what Grayson kind of mentioned earlier, is getting your team on board, which was our biggest issue. But there are some things, and I think this is where we're headed, where an owner, CEO, or leader of a company has to make a decision that there is a trend happening in the industry, and you're either going to be Blockbuster or Netflix, and you got to pick a lane, and you got to do your best to get your team on board. But you also have to understand that some people just aren't going to embrace change like you want to embrace change. And when you make that switch, you're going to lose certain people, and you have to be willing to go through that process, and you have to be willing to lose a few of maybe your better technicians because they simply have a way of doing things for 20 years that they believe in. And that's been probably the biggest hurdle. But if you can get over that hurdle, on the other side is a ton of value. Now, I want to talk about robotics because that is really that next opportunity for us as we move, like Blake, Grayson, and myself, into the full electric rollout. We're now looking for what's next. Where can we find that next level of disruption and innovation that can, again, differentiate us from the competition? Because I believe in landscaping, in the landscape industry, it's not so much about being the best as it is about being the newest and the different and the most different when offering maintenance services in today's game. So you obviously have to do quality landscape services, but having a differentiator like fully electric has been a huge selling tool for us. And I believe robotics is going to be a huge selling tool in the future. And so, Todd, I want to go to you and I just want you to give us the quickest update on the Voyager you can. What is the Voyager in your own words? What does it do? And then, Grayson, I'm going to come back to you, and I want to ask just like, what are your plans in an ideal world of rolling out robotic mowers at Lawn Capital in 2026? So, Todd, key us up a little bit, paint the picture. What is the Voyager, and why is it such a big deal?
Oh, absolutely. So let me take one step back. So from a robotics standpoint, we look at it in two different scenarios. We have robots that are built to stay on property and mow all the time, right? Those are perfect for certain landscapers, golf courses, sports and turf. Now, Voyager is a whole different type of robot. It is meant to be with a crew and be your next crew member. It's essentially we took all of the technology of a self-driving car and put it into a ZTR to create the first fully autonomous 40-inch robotic mower. This unit is built like a ZTR. It is meant to go and cut once a week, just like a landscaper would do today, so no change in their operational procedures. What they will do is they can either sit on the Voyager and map out a property or use a mapping cart to map that property out, save it. It's a one-time installation. After that, when they pull back up the next time on their trailer, it will geolocate. It'll say, okay, I'm at Justin's property. Yes, hit yes. Landscaper will drive it off just like they do a normal ZTR. However, they'll put it on property, hit start, okay, and now the robot will be mowing by itself. Now, what that allows is a 3-person crew to become a 2-person crew, right? The person that's on that mower can now do something else. You can pick up more properties. They can do other more high profile, more detailed work, areas that drive more profit for the business overall. But now with using fully autonomous, you can make the least profitable part of your business one of the most profitable parts of your business.
That's I think the biggest opportunity, what you just said, right? Is like the least profitable, which is a mowing, which you just have to do, to actually creating a profit center in the mowing, and that being an entry point for price perspective. So thank you for that kind of frame on that, Todd. Grayson, what's your thoughts on this as you hear Todd talk about an autonomous solution that is going to the property, mowing the property with our crew as a side by side, what we maybe call a cobot in manufacturing?
I think it's the future. I mean, I'm extremely bullish on autonomous and robotics in general. We got in our household, we use FSD Tesla, so we're using it every day. Used it this morning, so we're big on it. I think it's it's coming, it's happening. I want to get my hands on one. Curious, when that will be. But we've used a few. We have a few of the called crawlers. We use it particularly in our athletic field portfolio. We use the 237s. We got those last year or this year, and we're starting to pick and choose properties for next year. Because our biggest issue has been on the large mowers side for us. Because as we're making CapEx decisions, it's we have not been happy with all the tests we've done. That's really been our hole in our asset catalog. It's like, what are we buying for these mowers? You got the big brands with $30,000-$40,000 mowers. You got that's been hard. And Kress doesn't offer it, obviously. So what do we do? And they're so expensive, and then you got to put a person on them. So it's like, okay, what do we do now? But I think I want to get to a place where a two-man crew is a single-person crew. I believe we can get to a more we can take let's say if your average wages on a crew for two people is 100, 120,000. And, can we get down to one specialized guy who is making a lot more money and is highly more trained and is technical on, we can get to a more technician place in the industry versus like I've been in the business 10, 11 years, started it when I was 18, just mowing grass by myself. But like, there's always been this term of just labor. We need labor. Yeah. I need a laborer. I need essentially like a ditch digger. I need a guy on a mower. And like that's, I think for this industry to evolve, like that's got to end. So to get there, we got to eliminate some of those tasks that require this laborer or this which essentially is just a non-skilled body, right? Like someone that's just not skilled. And we got to get away from that. And until that, I mean, side note, I just had my second son on Friday, came back from the hospital last night. So thank you. But I was thinking the other day, I was like his name's Beckham. Will he ever mow grass? I'd be curious, Todd, do you think in 16 years, like there will I don't believe he'll ever drive a car. Probably he'll probably be out there, being at a Tesla, family Tesla.
Waymo, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's already Waymos in Atlanta. It's crazy. I mean,
they're everywhere.
Will he mow grass? Like, do you think, will there be push mowers in 16 years? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two big things, right? It's the inherent operational cost savings of using something like Voyager, and then the labor shortage that's going to continue. Right. There is not a lot of young people that are growing up going, man, I can't wait to jump on a ZTR and be in lawn maintenance, for my career. It takes somebody like everybody you guys are on the phone, right? Grayson, Justin, Blake. It takes somebody with a vision that is open to changing the way things are done to get people excited about maintaining lawns, right? And then also thinking about their employees first versus the equipment first. So that's where the biggest benefit comes in with using cordless, right? It's an employee first type of approach because their health is going to improve, their experience is going to improve. When you add Voyager into it, a fully autonomous robotic mower, if we look at it, Grayson, you touched on it, right? You said for a two-man crew, it's 110, 120,000, somewhere in there for a labor, right? Once you buy a ZTR, you have inherent operational costs. Let's just call it $55,000 for the guy that's on the mower, right? That's all in. You've got whatever your gas cost is. We might be high, we might be low. Say it's $7,000 a year in gas and $3,000 a year in maintenance, right? Now maybe the first year is a little bit less, but the second year when you're starting to change, belts and spark plugs and air filters and everything else that goes wrong with it, let's just call it $3,000. So you're $65,000 in for operational costs for just a ZTR. The Voyager's suggested retail is $60,000. right off the bat, you're saving $5. No matter what you do, just an operational cost, you're saving $5,000. But if you look at that over the course of it, an average ZTR that you guys, like working with you guys, it's roughly $15,000, right? So we'll just call the operational cost of a Voyager the 60 minus the 15. So you're $45,000. Spread it over 5 years because we've got a 5-year service life. It's $9,000 a year. Finance it if you want to, pay cash. But if you finance it, say it's 6%, it's another grand. So you're at $10,000 versus 65. You're 80 to 85% operational cost savings, right? So now your least profitable piece of your business now becomes one of the most profitable pieces of your business. All right. So you guys have known Kress for a while. We don't do things normally, right? We never come out with something and go, hey, let's just see what we can do, right? So if you have the opportunity to go completely cordless with using Voyager, why wouldn't you want to open the market up and take share by going in and lowering your service cost by 20%, right? Because you're still going to have 20% profit in your pocket by going completely cordless, and go in and lower your service cost and just take all the business from your competitors.
So you think I could lower my pricing by 20% and maintain the same margin by acquiring. So let's say if I had a 2-man crew, I could lower my prices by 20% if I eliminated a person.
Right.
Yes.
Because now that operational cost is gone, right? Your operational cost for Voyager is charging it at night.
Mm-hmm.
And that might cost you $100 a year.
Well, let's be honest.
Right.
I mean, this is a mower, so like, I mean, what it's gonna hit? Is it gonna hit something? I mean, what is it gonna break? Are we gonna have repairs on it? I mean, what's the?
Sure. Now, right. It's a mower, but there's no engine, right? There's no oil filters. There's no mix. There's no spark plugs. There's no filters. There's no belts, right? It's direct drive. So will there be maintenance on it? Yes. You're going to have to change blades just like you do today with the mower. Anything else other than that is potentially electronic, and it's completely fixable with either through a diagnostic tool to understand what's going on. But other than that, it's from a true operational standpoint, the only thing that moves on it is the deck up and down, the wheel drive motors, and the blade drive motors, which are all direct drive.
So tell me why would I pick the Voyager over spending $65,000 in crawlers? Just out of curiosity.
What's a crawler?
Your the stay on site mowers.
The cut and
the cut and stay, the little
stay.
minis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it depends on the application, right? So right now, landscapers are hesitant of using cut and stay robots. So in ours, we call them either the missions or the megas for residential properties, HOAs, commercial properties, because it changes the way they have to approach the property. Here's what I mean. Today, when a landscaper rolls up with a gas ZTR, they cut it once a week, right? If they change their behavior and all of a sudden they put a cut and stay on these properties, that mower's there and cuts every day of the week, okay? If they implement it the right way, that landscaper can literally roll up, maintenance that cut and stay robot, the KR236, 237, whatever it is, and then all they're doing is trimming, edging, and blowing. But they have to think through the operational side of doing that, and do they have a technician that they can dedicate to each of those individual robots? If they have 12 properties a day, it's meant to stay on property. So if they're doing 60 properties a week, they've got 60 robots. So if you can implement, or when implementing Voyager, which is built to mow once a week like the landscaper is doing today, it's just really a value to the landscaper depending on how they want to approach it, right? Because now you can have, to your point, Grayson, you can take 2 operators and become one. That operator now becomes the technical piece for your robot, but is now also the one doing your detail work around the property. So overall, in the life of it, it's going to be a cost savings because you have one robot replacing 60 from an overall implementation standpoint.
You're also
Grayson,
increasing quality. I mean, yeah, there's a quality aspect to this.
Yeah. And Grayson, like to your point, when you said, you eliminate that second person, we don't necessarily look at it as eliminating. We look at it as you have the opportunity because, you're able to branch out more so in the market. You have the opportunity to create another crew that can handle more properties for you, just upping that income that much more.
There's a massive move to consolidation obviously, in the landscape industry through private equity and other
Mm-hmm.
large players. And what I've noticed with them is they are finding ways to improve synergies and reduce their overhead costs and get more competitive on pricing as the main tactic around their organic growth. And so most of their playbooks involve a large amount of acquisitions and then a 10 to 12% year-over-year organic growth in recurring revenue. The way they've been able to accomplish that organic growth by and large is through price reductions and offering price savings to the market and then recovering those reduced prices through reduced overhead burden of each branch because they have a larger platform to spread the overhead across. So we're seeing gross profit margins be suppressed across the industry through larger private equity and capital-backed platforms. But what's happening is they're hitting a foundation within this pricing structure that does not allow them to go any lower. And inflation and cost increase and software and everything is catching up. So as inflation and cost of wages go up and large strategics start to bring their pricing down, they're meeting a concrete foundational level that they just cannot go lower. And this is the opportunity where the small operators, and I use small, kind of like 500 employees and less, have an opportunity to leverage robotics to actually get under that price point and provide higher quality of service with better wage pay and more engaged team members and at a lower price to the customer. Ultimately, this isn't a 2 or 3 month thing. This is more like a 24-month cycle that we have to kind of work into. It's a little bit like the power curve on a 2-stroke, unfortunately, Todd. Like we kind of got to build up to it. But once we get our teams and our techs and everybody trained out and we get our robotics programmed, I think this is like late 2026, we're going to see this pricing differential show up of people who have leaned into autonomous, first electric, then autonomous, and have leaned into the innovation, whereas larger, slower moving companies, just look at the top 50, I think, in the lawn and landscape list, are going to have a harder time keeping up and catching up. So this is the age of what I would call the small business opportunity in the landscape industry. And, Blake, I'd love to come to you here. What are you guys thinking? How are you planning to leverage robotics? Is this all hype, or is this something that, and is this something that you believe is truly the future?
No, I've gotten to see the Voyager a couple times at the demos, and they actually brought it out to one of our sites and have been doing twice or I think 3 times now doing some demos and tests. And there's still a little bit of couple small bugs to work out, but the power and the potential is awesome. The thing that's been crazy for us in California, being mostly HOA and commercial focused, turns out the state made our turf illegal. So we've only got like 2 years left of mowing the stuff pretty much before we're not allowed to have it anymore at any of our HOAs. It's as of January 2029, they're not allowed to have any non-functional turf. And as of 2028, January, commercial properties can't have non-functional turf. So to be honest, our focus has been looking down the line of, crap, how do we help all these people comply? And what does my capital expenditures look like? What kind of, 5-10 year investments am I making in equipment that I might not be needing because I won't be having the turf to actually mow?
So are they going to make them get rid of their lawns?
Yes.
Like completely
Yeah.
eliminated that? Like, so if you have a lawn you're not grandfathered in, you have to put in the money to change it out to something that's acceptable.
Currently, however, they're trying to boost with massive turf replacement rebates. So there's like a $7 rebate of per square foot right now for only for the next few months of people getting applications in. But yeah, they're making everybody take their grass out and go to sustainable landscapes, I guess. I think it's a pretty crappy idea. It's really funny, and the coupled with the fact that we just had all the fires down here, it's like, yeah, what could go wrong? A whole lot more dry plant material and less hydration in the landscapes. I mean, when we saw a lot of properties, is the really well hydrated landscapes, nice big hedge walls, and were the properties that managed to stay standing often in the fires too. So it's wild, but not related to robotics. So.
It's an interesting move though California is making, and it's this thing. If anyone wants to look it up, it's AB 1572. Like Blake's saying, it's basically mandating the removal of all non-functional turf. Non-functional being the key word there, and we're seeing larger HOAs and commercial properties starting to transition these big lawn areas to quote unquote parks and putting in benches or putting in gathering spaces to get around the legislation. And if there's one thing I know about California, they're really good at writing legislation in Sacramento and really bad at actually implementing and following through on the regulations of that and the enforcement of those legislations.
There's no way it's thought out.
It's so not thought. Like we see this in water and they end up just fining people, but we'll see what happens. It's a very interesting equation happening in California. And, our goals at K&D is, as most people who listen to this podcast know, we're on a mission to grow to $1 billion in revenue. So our sights are beyond California. And so we're looking at different markets and we're seeing different things. But Las Vegas is another interesting market with very little bit of turf. But the turf that is there is definitely required to look amazing because they have so little of it.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Thank you for that information, Justin. I was just looking at it, and it says it looks like it's for HOAs. It looks like it's for common areas, but residential lawns look to be exempt at the moment, so that's good. But the HOA common areas and commercial and so on. Wow.
It's going to be a lot of space that's got to get replaced. And granted, it also, if it's it has to be potable water. So we have some big properties with non-potable that we're going to be playing with all the robotics and stuff on. But most of our radius and everybody we serve is on potable water. So it's going to be a wild couple of years.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Hey, Grace, I want to come back to you on the pricing conversation as we kind of throw that around a little bit. What's your take on that idea of being able truly to be the, I'm going to say it like the low cost provider with higher wages, higher quality through automation? We've seen it in other industries like manufacturing, but what's your thoughts on actually seeing it make its way into the landscape industry?
I think it's possible. I think we've seen like our costs come down pretty dramatically with just the handheld side and, not having robotics fully integrated at all. But yeah, I think, we've seen our costs come down, but, in general in business, as you're growing, costs seem to find its place back in, you end up putting that cost sometimes somewhere else. I think it's always risky business, trying to be the low bidder. I think that's, kind of how we're all taught, not what not to do. But I think there's an opportunity where if you're strategic about it and you can be smart about it, it's possible. And we're seeing that when we start to bid some of the larger contracts that, whether it's a government bid or something, we know we can do better at it due to our lower cost structure. At the end of the day, like our highest cost is always going to be people. And obviously if robotics reduces that, it gives us an opportunity. But I don't know, I think 20%, I mean, that's I like it. I mean, that seems, I don't know if I could drop my prices 20% tomorrow. I don't know. But I think over time you could. I think you could see. I think it might help with like inflation, and you hear the word inflation, right? And it's like when inflation and the the whole economy was at 7% or 8%. It's like, but inside our business it was higher. Like when you think about our largest costs, our largest inputs, it was vehicles. Vehicle inflation was higher. Whether it might have been rent. Your wages. I mean, wages just kept. You had to just raise so high. So like I would have said our inflation was like 15% probably at one point, and I think that could, robotics will help stabilize our pricing as we look forward. And allow us to lock in better long-term contracts and be more confident in pricing over the long term. Which I would have a question. And I have a question for you, Todd. Is robotics going to be a buy one time and it works for the life of it? Like, what's the useful life of this robot? Do I have to pay a subscription for updates? Is this, is it transfer to the next model? I don't know.
So with all Kress robotics, there's no pay to play, right? You're not paying to use the app. You're not paying for 4G. You're not paying for RTK access. Everything's free. Right. For the Voyager, because it's going to be used so often, we built it to basically 5,000 hour service life. Right. So every inch of it's been tested to 5,000 service hours to make sure that it's durable and ready for the landscape industry. Now, will things break in there? Yes, absolutely, things will break in there, right? We know that, but that's where our dealer network comes into play to make sure that we hold ourselves to that high standard of service, as well as making sure that, Grayson or Justin or Blake, if a Voyager goes down, that you guys aren't out a mower, right? That you guys aren't down and have to feel like you got to pull another mower out. So that was one of the questions, Grayson, that you started off with of, when we look at automation, how do we prepare for it? From a cut and stay standpoint, it's a little bit easier to prepare for, right? If you've got, 20 robots that are out, if you keep one or two in your warehouse or in your service place, if one goes down, you just basically take the unit that went down, replace it with a new unit, and you're back up and running again because everything's tied together. With Voyager, it's a little bit different, right? It's a one-time cut versus always cutting. So we've got to make sure from our standpoint, from Kress standpoint, that we support our landscapers that are jumping into this, right, to go fully automated, fully cordless, fully automated, and making sure that we've got and keep these robots up and running. Now, the nice part is it's cordless. There's not a lot of it that can go wrong. A blade goes dull, you change it. But if it's something more than that, then we'll figure that piece of it out, right? It's the electronics piece of it that comes into play. But, changing a direct drive motor, changing a motor that raises and lowers the deck, the techs at a dealership are used to doing that now with CTRs. So a lot of the heavy lifting aspect of it will be typical. And then there's the electronic part that comes later.
So you don't need, there will be no subscription to RTK network or anything?
Zero.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Zero subscription to RTK, to 4G, to using our app. You don't have to pay per acre, right? It's an upfront cost, and then it's the mower to use.
I think one of my favorite interviews that I saw from Equip, and if you guys ever want to see the clip of it, I can send it to you, is Don Gao, our founder and owner of the company. He's sitting down and somebody says to him, so you can get your return on investment with the Voyager in just 1 year. And he looks at the person, he says, just 1 year. He said, and then after that, you have zero cost. You are saving, what you would normally have to pay somebody on an annual basis. You are saving that every single year moving forward.
I think that's a big opportunity and something that's going to be proven out in the next year. And what's interesting, I think, is as we on the inside, and I say the inside, people who just embrace electric equipment is kind of, I would say you're on the right track. Once it is like figured out, there's going to be this almost like this tech race, if you will. It's not like AI or anything like what we're seeing there, but it's going to be something similar. I think that the companies who figure this out are going to find that, it becomes such a cost saver and such a value add to our operation that it's like, how many can I buy, right? Like how many can we deploy at scale that makes it work? And of course, this is going to be proven out. And I think a lot of people are waiting on the sidelines for people like Grayson and I and Blake to go and, throw our money out there and test it. But I think people who watch from the sidelines are going to end up kind of wishing they got in the front of the line, because that line is going to get really big really quick. And I think it's going to be one of these kind of like inflection points of our industry where things really, really changed. And I look back, and there was a period of time, right, where the lawnmower was not self-propelled. And it was crazy to think that we'd have a self-propelled lawnmower that thing would just run away from you. It's not controllable. It's dangerous. It's a burden for the community, right? Like, we need to push our lawnmowers. Come on, guys. We don't need self-propelled lawnmowers. And now, could you imagine? And then the ride-on lawnmower was another one where, like, you can't ride a lawnmower. That's impossible. You're going to create ruts. It's too heavy. So we've seen resistance at every inflection point, and here we are at, again, robotics, which I think is the most significant change and transformation. And I'm excited to see where it takes us. So I want to go around the room and just get a bit of a closing final thought here. Meg, I'm going to come to you.
Oh boy.
And then Todd, I'll go over to you. But what's your thoughts as we wrap this up for people listening in terms of electric, in terms of automation, maybe in terms of even PR and marketing? Any advice there?
I think, and this is something that I continuously hear over and over again from a robotic standpoint. If you're not at the very least, considering it and looking to see how it fits into your business, you're already falling behind. From an electric standpoint, it's the same thing. I mean, it's here. It's not, 5 years ago where it was just sort of the twinkle in someone's eye. It's here. You have an opportunity, as you say, to be the tip of the spear and to change the industry and to be part of the process. And, if you need anything, just reach out to us because we're more than happy to help you see how it will fit into your business model.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think the support side is really key there, and Meg's very responsive. You can DM her on the Kress Instagram app. Todd, coming to you next, closing thoughts. And again, thanks for being on, guys.
Oh, absolutely. I'd probably mimic what Meg said, right? It's not that the two biggest trends and the biggest economic thing is in front of us, right? Electrification and automation or robotization, whatever I'm going to say. But there's labor concerns and costs and even availability that plays into it. There are landscapers out there that are just starting to begin to look at what that change looks like or what could look like. All I would ask the landscapers is be open, right? Be open to exploring what switching from gas to cordless does, or switching to automation does for your business, to help you be more profitable, retain your workers, right? The benefit to not only your workers, but also to the areas that you're providing or servicing, whether it's hospitals or schools or HOAs. It all helps you become more influential in the market. And there's going to be more and more bids that come out. They're going to specify it has to be X% cordless or X% automated because of people's concerns of noise, right? Whether it's regulated or not, there's going to be bids that if you're not open to change, you're going to start losing because it's going to happen. It's not if, it's just when at this point, right? And with Kress, we will always state we're not perfect. Right? If we don't have a solution, we want to understand what the challenge is. And then if we understand what the challenge is, and we love working with people like yourselves, like Blake, Justin, and Grayson, to see how we can overcome those challenges in order to make it work for your business the right way.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. It's one of those things that it's going to change around you, and you're either going to have to react to it or lead the change. Blake, being fellow California member here, the Republic of California, as I like to say, man, what are your closing thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, it's here, and the Kress is who really proved it to me. I mean, when we saw the Teslas coming through, and it was like, man, these are actually pretty bitchin' vehicles. And then that just kind of was the first sign of like, wait, that's a fully useful tool. That's actually what the future was, what we were told is going to be at some point. And that meant that other products to me that were coming down the line, inevitably landscape equipment was going to get there. It's just naturally not going to be in the same timeline. But then boom, once Kress kind of made that big last step, as far as I'm concerned, it's there. And so it's been huge. And Grand California forcing my hand a little bit with, in local municipalities insisting on electric equipment made to me, it was a benefit because it kind of forced me into getting to that position in the line, so to speak, as you're mentioning. And I'm definitely grateful for it because it's worked out. And as far as robotics, I mean, this stuff is going to be everywhere, like you're saying. I mean, between whether the AI implications for all of our positions and the fact that it is all these robotics are coming into play, it's going to be awesome. But it is going to be a wild ride. And as far as this turf stuff goes, it's like I look forward to trying to figure out how to make the most out of that investment, get that 40-inch thing and get that thing going to all these properties as much as I still have, and watching that technology get really defined, and that ability to get through mowed parkways and hopping across sidewalks and over driveways and jumping over little kids and dogs and stuff is going to be a really cool thing to see come together, and it's amazing to see what it's doing. It feels like we're in the future already. It's wild.
It is. Sometimes I kind of have to wonder, like, what's 10 years from now look like? It's going to be wild.
Yeah, it's scary.
Grayson, rounding the bases to you. Bring us home, man. What are your closing thoughts on the combo, man?
I don't think there's like going to be a big, aha moment of like just everything changes right now. It's going to be like a slow build through the market. And, if you're not doing a little bit every year to add to this stuff, whether it's, adding, battery powered equipment or autonomy or, AI, whatever it is in your business, I think, over the next 5 years, it's going to be like, there will be a moment where it's like, oh my God, I didn't do any of this. And you're going to be way too behind. So I think, you got to do a little bit every year. Go all in is my thing as well, but you got to do a little bit every year, because I think we'll quickly realize, and I think how you bid properties and address properties, once you start getting inside this technology, will change your strategy. So how you look at a contract's different with when you now like understand autonomous technology. So it totally can change how you address it and model your profitability of a contract and how you bid it. And I think we'll drive prices lower at the end of the day. But I think over the next 5 years, you're going to see a lot of change, and it's going to slowly compound.
Yeah. But you're right. It's almost like one of the investment accounts. You do the math. If you put in $200 a month from the age 25, is a lot better than putting $200,000 in when you're age 50. And you don't think about it like that. You just like, I'll just invest a bunch of money when we're ready. But if you're not doing that consistent ad, there's a lot of learning that happens. There's a lot of growing that happens as a culture, as a company, and it becomes a part of your DNA, is what I've found. So, Grayson, I think that's just so well said. If you're not doing the small daily activities to get yourself and your team pointed in the right direction, it's hard to make those big moves and big changes on the path of your company's trajectory to get back on track with the industry and the changes we're seeing. All right, guys. Well, this has been a great episode. I hope everyone enjoyed listening. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to all of us. I mean, I think LinkedIn's a great place to get a hold of everyone here. Meg, Todd, Blake, Grayson, thank you guys so much for being on the show today. And thank you. Yeah, just thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
See you.
Thanks for tuning in to Trades Talk, where the next generation of disruptors comes to raise the bar. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in the trades who's ready to level up. For more tools, insights, and community, follow host Justin White and join the movement at jwhitegroup.com.